The Girls of the Wilds, Episode 19. The boxing club senior gets taken out of the ring in a stretcher. Most of the fighters in the group forfeit after this fight. The guy who won sits in the ring and asks one of his men for water. The gangster hands him a bottle while calling him boss. He tells the gangster not to call him that. The next contestant enters the ring. She is a Muay Thai fighter with a professional rating of 8.9. She's even taller than the male fighter, and she says that the guy's last match was arrogant and crude, and that it won't work against a fighter with the same build as him and with good training. She tells him to go throw his cheap fists around in a back alley somewhere. The guy tells her to shut up, and the girl gets angry and kicks him, but the guy quickly dodges it and jabs back at her. But she ducks under it and grabs his head. He tries to free himself, but he can't. She strikes his face with her knee and tells him to go home, but he somehow still manages to dodge it, and after that he starts to punch her flank over and over until she lets go of his neck. She desperately tries to put some distance between them to catch her breath, but the guy catches up to her and grabs her neck and pulls her in for a knee strike of his own, knocking her out. The referee calls for another stretcher to take her. The fight ended in just 17 seconds. All the remaining contestants have forfeited in his group, and the guy is decided as the winner. The MC asks what fight style the silver-haired boy is using, and Dal Dal tells him that it's just street fighting. Moon Young wonders where a monster like him came from, and the white-haired guy from before says that he is a third-year student from a different school, and the future successor of the Big Tuna Mafia. Moon Young asks why the white-haired boy is still hanging around after getting beat up, as she finds it awkward for him to just show up and start narrating. The white-haired guy says that it's impossible to touch even his hair around the area his father rules, and when he graduates, he is supposed to become the ringleader. He's got the brain and the brawn, and there are rumors that he is already running things inside the gang, and no one knows why he decided to come to a tournament like this. He then tells them to watch out, as he is merciless. The white-haired boy says that the tournament is getting interesting and leaves. The guy from the gang asks one of his minions if they booked a hotel for him, and the minion says yes, boss, and he again tells him not to call him boss. He then asks the driver to move the car to him. The driver says that they have a problem. They say that a truck and limo has boxed their car in. The boss asks if his minions can't even handle anything by themselves and if he has to deal with idiots like them in the future as well. Mr. Park arrives and apologizes for being late, and the boss kid tells him to hurry up and get his car out of the way. One of the gangsters says that they asked for the truck to be moved, but Mr. Park calmly tells them that the truck caterers are busy. Queen comes with the MC's siblings, and they want to go to the playground. Mr. Park waves at Queen from the car to call her over. The boss kid stares at Queen as she walks in front of him. The kids ask Queen to take them to the zoo, and Queen agrees. The guy stops her and asks what grade she is in, and says that he is looking for a couple of seniors from Wilds. Because 7 months ago, the 6 girls from Wilds rounded up the southern sector of the Big Tuna Mafia. The boss was not happy to see the front page of the newspaper the next day about how some girls got awarded for trying to shame the Mafia across the country. The elder son of the boss asks his men how they managed to be rounded up by a couple of girls. He asks his brother about his take on this, and he responds by saying that they lost all of the southern section, meaning 12% of the operation and 6.5% of total earnings. But the rest of the city is still under the Mafia's control, so it's not that big of a deal. He then asks why he was asked to come in the middle of his class, just to waste his time. His elder brother says that he called him in because this issue was more important than school. He tells his younger brother that everyone knows he will be taking over the Mafia as soon as he graduates. And that's what their father wants as well, as they need more brains than brawn to run the Mafia in this day and age, and he knows he can't compete with his younger brother in the brains department. The younger brother says that he gets the brains, but asks his brother what makes him think that he can compete on his level in anything else. His brother agrees and says that he knows his brother is better than him, and asks him to handle this situation and show the world to not mess with them again. But his younger brother says that he has no interest in the matter, as it is not something they need to worry about. He then tells his brother to know his limits, and tells him to stay under the radar until he graduates. After a while, both the brothers were summoned by their father, Older brother says that they were summoned because people are still spreading rumors about the Southern Section incident and tells him that there is more to the business than his calculation. But the young brother says that he is not interested. He tells his younger brother that sometimes they need to handle things with the old ways or people will stop taking him seriously. The same goes for this incident. He says that people think his younger brother was behind it, but he just keeps denying responsibility and his name is losing its respect, and his competence is being questioned as the future boss of Big Tuna. They say they don't need a pencil pusher for a boss. Back to the present, he asks Queen about the girls who went on the trip to his territory last year and lists out all their names. Queen completely ignores him and walks straight to the car with the kids. The guy places his foot on the door and slams it shut before they can get in and asks his minion to call all the gang members to come by. He says that sometimes his brother's way of actions speak louder than words is right and asks his men to drag the principal and the director outside also. Mr. Park tries to pull out his gun to threaten them a little, but Queen stops him and tells him to be careful and asks him to let the proper people take care of this and tells him to call the YK security squad instead. The guest from the Marshall Society notices Queen and is happy to see her all grown up as it has been 5 years since she was training under him as per her father's request. Queen apologizes to him for not visiting after that, and he tells her that she is the best fighter he ever trained. The Mafia guy is pissed that Queen isn't respecting his gang and asks his men to take control again. The goons come up and act all tough. One of them grabs the old man's collar. The old man tells them to not do this to an old person like him. The goon tells the old man to screw off, but the old man grabs the goon's hand and twists it and slams him to the ground. The old man wonders if he came at the wrong time, and a few cars roll up filled with gangsters who all group up behind the Mafia kid calling him boss. The old man asks if a battle is breaking out. The boss tells his men to catch all of the people with Queen, but before they can, they hear a lot more cars coming, and the YK SWAT helicopters on top of them to keep the VVVIP safe. The gangsters stop in their track, and Queen asks Mr. Park to take care of the old martial master. The gangster grabs Mr. Park's shoulder before he can leave and warns him to not even think about leaving. Mr. Park tells him to take his hands off. The gangster accidentally pulls off Mr. Parks' jacket. He has 2 guns and ammunition on his gun vest under his suit. He tells the gangster to take care of his suit until he is back and guides the martial master out. Queen tells her old master to take care and says that she will visit him soon. The Mafia boss kid asks his minion to take initiative again, so the minion goes and grabs Queen's shoulder and asks if she doesn't know who she is dealing with. Queen turns around and asks him to let go. The gangsters ask if she doesn't know about the Big Tuna Gang, one of the 3 biggest mobs in the country. The boss kid says that Queen seems to be underestimating them just because she has some money, and tells her that from where they come from, people like her are chump change. Then he asks what she plans to do now if she is going to kill them all. He tells her that killing is what they do best, and says that they will make someone like her disappear without a trace, then asks her to kneel down and beg for her life. Queen just pulls out her phone and calls an YK executive to deal with the Big Tuna Gang. She asks him to investigate all their business, stock, and real estate, and tear down anything he finds and bury them. She asks him to make sure not a single person from that gang ever sees a penny in their life again. The boss kid says that she is bluffing and that no one in the country can do that to his mafia. Queen asks who he is to decide that. She asks him, how many people in the country does he think have the power to call a security squad so fast? She says that nothing is impossible for her. Even if it were all 3 of the mobs they mentioned teamed up, she could destroy them. She now tells them to kneel to be spared. The gangster tells the boss kid that there is something wrong here. The boss kid loses it and says that they will deal with it by force and tells all of them to get their weapons. They all grab some metal bats, but before they get ready, they all get laser pointers pointing at them. The minion asks his boss to reconsider before it gets ugly. Then Dal Dal and Moon Young come by with the MC after seeing all the commotion. The MC's little brother is excited after seeing people with guns. He tries to run up to his brother to tell him about how cool the SWAT helicopter were, but he was snatched by the boss kid. He says that this is how he will be handling things from now. He asks if they thought this was funny and tells them that he's the one in charge, But before he can finish his sentence, the MC grabs his neck and slams him to the ground, freeing his brother. Everyone gets surprised, and Dal Dal finds it cool. The boss kid doesn't even know what just happened to him. Queen signals her SWAT team to stand down so they don't accidentally shoot the MC. The gangsters notice this and decide to beat up the MC for grabbing their boss's collar. But the girls all go into attack mode hearing this and break all the bats that were going for the MC. The gangster asks the rest of them to attack at once, but the wild guards appear and apprehend all the goons within seconds. Lee Na says that she came because it was noisy. She understands that they have uninvited guests and tells them that fighting outside the rings are not permitted in the wilds. She then tells the queen that it was not necessary to escalate the situation so much during the preliminary matches. Queen apologizes and says that she will send them back. The helicopters leave, and the boss's kid wonders what kind of school he walked into. The gangster, however, decided to threaten Lee Na this time. However, she calmly explains to him that they are granted an exemption to fight in cases of self-defense in order to keep peace and order. That means they are not under the jurisdiction of the law. The guy ignores her warning and says that she looks cute enough to be worth some money in the black market. She asks if she needs to simplify the explanation further for them. Lena kicks him multiple times within a second, sending him face first to the ground. She tells him to listen carefully and says that she will dumb it down enough for the dimwits like him to understand. She tells them that whatever happens to them, the wild guard won't be responsible. She then says that they have to go back to judge the prelims and that they don't have time to deal with random thugs. She makes herself clear and says that the school has regulations to abide by and tells them not to kick up dust again unless they want to leave on all fours. The MC asks her if it's okay to just leave them and what happens if they get violent again. Lee Na assures the MC to not worry, as he is surrounded by S-rank fighters who are capable of handling the situation on their own, as they, being a S-rank, allows them to fight in any ring inside the school. They leave after telling them to use a ring to settle the fight. The guy monitoring the rings in the control room asks his senior if someone was allowed to the ring. The checks the screen and sees some thugs against S-ranks. In the ring, Queen says that she will give anything to the thugs if they manage to win, whether it is money or a good relationship with the YK groups. Dal Dal sets up a picnic on the side of the ring for the MC and his siblings. Queen takes off her shoes and asks the thugs to get in the ring if they have guts and tells them to go all at once to save time. Queen puts up the hand signal and the hatch opens on the roof and a couple of gloves fall to the ring, and Queen asks the goons to get in the ring and put on the gloves. Not seeing anyone step up, she asks them to hurry up. The gangster tells his boss that they will take care of it and calls for a goon and tells him to not to go easy on her. The goon steps into the ring and, while wearing the gloves, he says that it seems like she is a bully at her school, but he tells her she's still only a girl. He warns her that she might die. He says that her fists are small and arms are short, and she has a tiny frame, and it makes no sense for him to fight here. He charges at her and says that he can't let her live for making his boss mad. Queen punches the goon in the face and says that he talks too much. The goon stops and wonders what just happened. Queen asks Moon Young to stop eating and to get a mouthpiece for the goon. She says that it would be pitiful if the goon lost his teeth to someone like her with small fists. The goon feels insulted and says that her fist only tickled him while running in again. Queen quickly punches him again, then kicks his legs, and then punches him in the face again. The gang members get surprised, and the gangster asks the goon to get himself together, and the goon tells Queen that she can't knock him down with something like that. Queen dashes in and does her signature high kick to the temple to knock him out. The MC says that Queen knocked out the biggest guy in the gang in one round. Queen calls for the next one, looking at the boss's kid. The gangster says that he will kill her. Queen's brother bursts through the door, mad at Queen for missing a meeting she was supposed to go to, making him have to go instead. He couldn't play any games because of her. He notices the gangsters on the side and asks if his sister skipped because of those hobos. The gangster comes up to him and says they are the Big Tuna Gang, one of the 3 top mobs in the country. Queen's brother tells his driver to get rid of the Big Tuna Gang, just like Queen. The MC thinks that Queen's brother sounds just like her. Dal Dal says that Queen's whole family thinks that they own the whole world. The gangster tries to grab Queen's little brother, but stop midway when he sees the driver pull out a gun and put a silencer on it. Queen's brother dares the gangster to try and hurt him. The boss kid tells everyone to stop embarrassing him. He says that his brother set him up from the start. He says that he knew from the start, but pretended he didn't notice while fixing. But now everything is messed up. He even had to take a kid hostage after getting all worked up. He tells them he will take care of it himself. He gets on the ring and puts on his gloves. All the gang members cheer for their boss. The boss kid says that he admits that Queen is different from other girls, and that he will take care of this matter properly and wreck her and make her crawl on her knees. Queen's little brother tells him to shut up and stop acting cool when he looks so beat up already. He then reminds his sister that she has an important meeting at a resort later which she has to attend because her grandfather will be there too. Queen looks at Moon Young, and Moon Young immediately tells Queen that she will take care of it. The boss kid gets angry seeing Queen leave and calls his men. The goons all run around the ring and make a human chain to stop Queen from leaving, and they say that she can't leave without their boss's permission. They say that they will show her a little taste of the streets. Moon Young and Dal Dal say that this is what is called style without sense. Mr. Park arrives and reports that he safely gave the martial master a ride home. He wonders if the goons are doing a dance around Queen or something. Mr. Park then notices his senior and greets him. Mr. Park Sr. asks if he doesn't have silencers for his twin handguns. Mr. Park says that he left them in the car. The senior pulls out a knife from Mr. Park's vest and throws it while saying that it's nostalgic. The knife lands right next to the gangster's face. Queen asks Mr. Park to get the car ready to leave for the meeting. Mr. Park asks for his coat from one of the goons, and the goon obediently comes over and helps Mr. Park wear his coat. The boss kid asks if Queen is running away in a situation like this. Queen asks him to stop whining like a child and tells him that every step she takes is more precious than his gang's entire lives put together. Queen tells him that her friend will take care of them. Dal Dal tells Queen to take care of her own mess. Queen says that beating her friends is the same as beating her, and she will do whatever they want if they beat one of her friends. Queen's brother asks her not to tell their grandfather about him being here, as he wants to see how the fight ends. Queen's brother gets excited to see the outcome of the fight. The boss kid is furious, thinking that he is getting humiliated over and over again. He asks for them to send the strongest one to fight. Among Moon Young and Dal Dal, Moon Young steps forward, but Queen's brother tells the MC to get in the ring because he beat Queen's brother before and he has the right to replace Queen. The MC tells Queen's brother to be quiet, but Moon Young also thinks that it's not a bad idea to let the MC fight. MC's brother also tells him to beat up that guy as he was gonna beat him earlier. Dal Dal says good luck to her self-proclaimed husband. The MC asks why he is being pushed to do this, and Queen's brother tells the MC that he's the only male student here, so it has to be him. After hearing that the MC is that only male, he asks if he is the strongest here. The MC says that he's probably not the strongest and asks why Moon Young wants him to fight. Moon Young says that he doesn't have to if he doesn't want to, but she really wishes he would do this as it is important to her. The boss kid gets impatient and says that he will take on anyone and asks them to get on the ring. Moon Young calls him to the corner. When he gets close, she grabs his collar and pulls him closer and tells him that he doesn't have the luxury to decide who he fights, and that it's the exact opposite, as no one in the school owes him a second of their time. She warns him that if she or Dal Dal were to fight him, he would be dead within seconds. She calls him street trash, who has to fight whoever he is told to. Moon Young remembers of the time when she first joined the Wilds Boxing Club and met her senior, who got beat up by the boss kid. She recognizes Moon Young quickly as the winner of the amateur tournament. She is happy to have someone continue the legacy of the medalist seniors who have graduated. During a spar, Moon Young pushes her senior to a corner, and her senior asks her to take it easy on her, and asks if Moon Young is trying to kill her while sparring. Moon Young says that she just loses herself, since it is tough to fight her senior. Her senior says that's all she got, as she wasn't born with skill like Moon Young, or the ability to learn quickly. She studied Moon Young's style and patterns to even have a chance against her. Moon Young asks why her senior applied for the leadership course instead of the boxing club. The senior says that her father is a bit sick, so she can't be playing sports all the time, and coaching others is a better match for her personality. So making kids like Moon Young into a monster would be fun, according to her. She tells Moon Young that 50% of boxing depends on the coaching, and even the best fighters can't win if their coaching team is all over the place. She asks Moon Young to not worry about her and just focus on herself and win the provincial tournament. The gang members all try to step in, seeing their boss being grabbed like that. They get their weapons again to attack Moon Young, but Dal Dal jumps in and kicks off all the weapons from their hands. She then calls them idiots for doing something shameless like that in front of a sacred ring. She doesn't understand how these guys keep pulling out the sticks from. The boss kid matches Moon Young's forehead and says that he will do what they want, and tells her to stop thinking she's all big. Gwen's brother tells the goons that he won't forgive anyone who interrupts the match. The gang members try to protest against him, so he tells his driver to call the YK security, just like Queen did before. Moon Young uses her hand signal and asks for sparring gloves. She gives a pair to the boss kid and asks him to stick to the rules while fighting. The boss kid says that it's annoying, as in the end, the fight is all about an individual's own ability. While Moon Young helps the MC wear his gloves, he asks if he has to do this, still unsure. Moon Young says that it's up to him if he wants to or not, but she knows that he wants to try and tells him to trust himself, as he can easily beat the boss kid. The MC says that the guy beat Moon Young's strong senior. Moon Young knows that he's not an easy opponent, but the only reason her senior lost was because she just returned after a year of being away, and he was an unusual opponent. And if her senior did, as she had always done, analyze her opponent and came up with a strategy, she would have won. And right now, Moon Young has analyzed him, and she will be the MC's coach, because in a fight, it's 50% him and 50% her, just like her senior said. She acknowledges that she became this strong because of her senior's coaching. The operators in the situation room cheer for their students and commend them for always being so full of energy. Moon Young throws a fake jab towards the MC's face to prove that he is not afraid, since he didn't close his eyes and he is almost fully recovered. She tells him to show his opponent that a match isn't a show where he can just throw cheap fists, and show how learning something properly for a short period of time makes a difference. The first round starts, and the MC cautiously walks towards his opponent. He remembers acting without thinking when his little brother was taken hostage. He just thought if he was as strong as the girls, he wouldn't have let it slide. He steels himself and prepares to fight, just like he was taught. Moon Young told him that his opponent has no fighting style. It's just a typical street fight. She asks him to just keep his guard up and wait when the bell rings. Wait until his opponent's right shoulder leans back. When he does, he will attack with his right hand first. Seeing the MC wait, the boss kid tries to provoke him by calling him a wimp. He dashes in with the right hand attack, just like Moon Young predicted. Moon Young told MC that he won't be able to do much with simple jabs, as his opponent is too good to leave his face open, so the MC must wait until there is an opening for body shots. Following Moon Young's advices, the MC ducks down and goes in and hits his opponent's stomach with a jab.